All right, looks like we are rocking and rolling. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well today. Just wanted to check in. It's been a little while since we've done a live stream here on the channel. Wanted to ask you guys what your struggles are. What is hurting you right now? What are your pain points? What are you frustrated by? What are some of the points of burnout that maybe you're facing right now? Because I just had a great conversation with Yella Ditmar, which I'll release that interview probably next week or the week after. And, probably one of the biggest rising stars in sync that I can think of in terms of he is breaking through to so many high quality publishers. He's making amazing music. He is producing an ungodly amount of music out there, but he was very honest and kept it real about some real burnout he's been feeling lately and how he is planning to deal with that and get through that. And it just kind of reminded me. I know a lot of you are probably going through your various pain points in your careers right now, struggling with something, maybe burning out. What's up, Isomatic? Good to see you, man. So I always want to give an open platform for all of you guys to just say, hey, you can share whatever it is that's going on in your world right here on the channel. Obviously, it's something we talk about a lot in Sync Academy for members who are struggling with various parts of their careers, whether it's you're not accepted yet by a library and you're struggling with imposter syndrome and, kind of some fear of pitching your music to a library for the first time, which is very scary, because obviously you're like asking the girl out for the dance, and that means she can say no. The minute you ask for something is the minute that you can be rejected. So our egos don't necessarily like those kinds of things, and so it's really uncomfortable to do that. It's necessary, I do believe, to take some risk, obviously, to put yourself out there to try to create those direct relationships with production music libraries. But that doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that it just comes fast or that the first couple of libraries you pitch to, you're going to get accepted by. So some of our members are kind of in that first beginner stage, that entry kind of newbie camp, which is where we all were at some point in our careers. I was as well. So was Yella. And others are maybe got a foot in the door with one or two libraries and, sort of consistently cranking out music, but not seeing those placements yet, or not seeing enough to go, I'm putting a lot of hours into this, putting a lot of work into this. I'm not seeing a ton of income yet. I'm not seeing a lot of placements. My royalties certainly aren't growing fast enough for me. Not seeing the sync fees. And so I'm not sure if I'm doing all that I can to put the odds of success in my favor. I think you guys all know that it's out of our control for the most part. There's no guarantees in life, of course. But there are certainly a lot of things that we can be doing to not get in our own way and to sort of stack up the odds of success in our own favor. So we have a good chunk of you guys here and in Sync Academy that are in that camp where you got a foot in the door, but the results aren't quite there. And then there's probably a small number of you that do have some results. You kind of got the snowball growing. You've got your foot in the door with a couple of libraries. You've sort of been at this for a couple of years already. But you might be just generally occasionally hitting some walls, creative walls, burnout, kind of not really sure. Should you keep going? How can you see yourself doing this for the next 5 or 10, 20 years if you're constantly running into these creative walls or just kind of feeling a little bit burned out on the business? Because the reality of what we do here is that we're constantly channeling our own creative effort to serve the needs of other people. You guys know that that's really all we're doing with sync licensing is turning down the knob of our own ego and our own, maybe desire of what we really want to do. And oftentimes we're going, hey, what do you guys need? What is it that would fly off the shelf? What would get more placements? What are your clients looking for? Just had a great conversation with AJ Gundell at Future Hits this last Saturday through our Sync Connects Zoom call. And he was basically letting us know about all the sports clients that he's currently serving and what they're looking for, all the different types of genres and the styles that they're looking for. And, sometimes we wake up and we're not in the mood to make upbeat, energetic sports music, right? Sports friendly music. But if we want to have a sustainable career and consistently crank out music that is going to, increase the chances of getting those placements and to start to turn into income, we got to figure out how do we get ourselves in the mood to produce the kind of music that these clients need. So you can do that for so long before you start to hit these walls. And I was there, Yella, as you'll see in that interview we talked about, he's kind of sharing with that as well. You guys will hit that wall at some point, and you can just only do that for so long before you need to refill your cup. And that's kind of what I rediscovered this last year, a couple months back, starting to get into writing my own original music just for myself, not for any project, not for anything else, not for Sync, definitely not for Sync, but just to kind of refill my own creative cup and remind myself of why I love music, why it's something that I will always do for the rest of my life. But more importantly, I had to do it selfishly. I had to do it just for my own needs, just for my own purposes, and really just draw myself back into that kind of creative, energy place, whatever that is. So that then I can come back here and give you guys great, service, and I can be a better father for my family, and I can give more just energy to the world in general, to all the relationships and all the things that I do. So speak of the devil or of an angel, Yella's here as well. What's up, man? Good to see you already. Making Christmas tracks in the middle of summer. Oh, okay. I didn't know you're doing Christmas stuff today. That's cool. We're getting close enough to Christmas now. It's funny, you go to our local, our Lowe's, Home Depot, where you get like all your home supply stuff here. And they have, of course, Halloween stuff, scary, big monsters, crazy stuff on one aisle. And literally the aisle over, it's Christmas land. They got all the Christmas trees, they got all the decorations. So of course I bring my daughters in there and I'm just like, well, don't look over to the right, guys. There's nothing over there. Just look at this beautiful, wonderful, safe Christmas stuff, because they get a little intimidated by these. I mean, some of these decorations people are putting in front of their houses now are like Disneyland level animatronics. And it's like, it's kind of out of control, actually. Halloween is really escalated in the last couple of years, at least here in the States. I don't know about other parts of the world. So, but yeah, we're close enough to Christmas, and I'm actually even putting some Christmas music on in the house every so often, because I'm like, I'm done with the summer. We've had a lot of triple digits this summer in the heat, and it came back again in early October, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm just putting on Christmas music. We're just going to pretend that we're already in the winter fall season, and we're already getting our pumpkins. We're already just pretending like it's fall. And I think this week, luckily, temperatures are starting to match that, so we'll be back in the fall. But anyways, yeah, I just want to check in with you guys to see how you're doing. What are your struggles? What are your pain points right now? What are you worried about? What are you uncertain about? There's no wrong answers here. It's basically just a time for you guys to kind of vent, put your frustrations out there, and if there's something I can say to help, to clarify things, or to give you some just a pat on the back to say, hey, I've been there too. That's kind of what this is really about. It's not necessarily always about the answers, but just about having a place for everybody to not feel so crazy and not so just burned out with this business, because it just constantly is doing that to all of us at various times, as Yella and I just talked about in our conversation, which you guys will see next week. The third sign, hey, what's up, Jesse? I signed up before, but never received the library package that you offer. Pretty bummed out. The list was the main reason I signed up, along with the reviews. Okay, the best place to get a hold of me, guys, for any customer service ever, anytime, now, in the future, hopefully everybody sees this at some point, is just email me, jesse@syncmymusic.com. Third sign, I don't know if you emailed me or not. I am very good at responding to customer service emails, usually within the day, usually within the hour. I'm pretty good. I probably should back off from my email inbox. It's kind of an addiction at this point. But if you signed up for something and you didn't get something, email me. I'll make it right immediately. So sorry about that. I don't know what happened with your purchase or what was going on there, but definitely just reach out to me via email, not on my YouTube channel, not as a comment. And that I don't want to do it. And I also say this with our Sync Academy platform and stuff. I don't handle customer service stuff in chats, because I want to have a track record of easily searchable trace, and a track record of if we had some sort of dispute, or you looked for something and you couldn't find it. I want to make sure that it's kind of like my sort of amateur ticketing system. I don't have a ticketing service. I don't have people working for me. I'm a one-man operation here. But if I have all my customer service requests and responses in my email inbox, I can always find that in the future and make sure that things got settled. And if I don't respond to something, Gmail has this great feature that'll just pop up an email right to the top. By the way, Yella, I just sent you something. We had this pro feedback issue with one of the members. I wanted to make sure you got that. And that was because Gmail popped it right back up and said, hey, did you resolve this yet? And I said, oh, no, I didn't. Thank you so much. So please do just email me, guys, for any customer service issues, or if you're curious about anything, email is probably the best way to get a hold of me for sure. All right, one-to-one. Extremely new to Sync. Well, welcome. You're in the right place. Welcome to the channel. Should I focus on pitching to small libraries first, or should I be pitching to all of them? Shoot for the moon, or should I take it slow? Well, it's kind of a big, complex topic. And when you say small libraries, I'm assuming you're talking about kind of the mom and pop boutique companies, TV film focused, not stock, not royalty free, not subscription based, right? I'm going to assume that's what you mean by small. I do recommend those kinds of companies, especially if you're fairly new to sync licensing. It's how I got my career started. It's really how I turned it into full-time income, was to have direct relationships with small mom and pop companies that allowed me to become sort of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, right? Not that you can't do great with, sending, trying to pitch to like a Universal, a BMG, APM, some of these bigger companies. You can certainly get into their catalogs. if you have something amazing and great, high quality, and you can do well with it. I'm not saying you can't, but you just got to realize what you're doing is you're basically throwing, one album maybe into an ocean of production music library. So if you have something that really stands out, really kind of is in its own niche, it's really serving some current new demand, especially if it has vocals, probably you'd have a higher chance of succeeding with those larger catalogs, those larger companies. But I'd say for the vast majority of single licensing producers, I think you would do better throwing your music into a smaller catalog, creating a little bit more of a direct, intimate relationship with them on a weekly basis so they can let you know what they're looking for, and just constantly cranking out high quality music with those kinds of partners. So that's what I recommend, especially for newbies. Larger companies might be something you can grow into and get into as your craft gets better, or maybe you feel like you can do well with some of those bigger ones, but it's like a lot of people see them as like our majors, like the major labels in our industry. And so like, well, I'm not really a success unless I'm in Universal Production Music's catalog. That's not true, but I understand the sentiment of that because that seems like the majors and all these other ones seem like the minors, right? Minor league, teams can still pay you full-time income. And I think in some ways you stack up the odds of success for much better, especially if they have high quality relationships with TV film clients and you've got high quality music. You can become their star composer or producer like virtually overnight. It's a really good position to be in. So that's what I would say. Pitching to all of them, no, definitely not. Okay, so you're brand new to sync. Most common mistake, you probably already thought about doing it, and a lot of people want to do it, is they're like, I'll just get a list. Like maybe they'll go get my production music library list, which I sell, and they'll just copy and paste all the emails and put it in an email and just send their music out to all of them and go, well, I'll get a deal with one of them. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it's tempting. I know you want to get results fast. You're spamming when you do that kind of thing. And libraries can tell when you're spamming, and usually you're not going to find yourself in a great position. And even if you do get a couple of offers, that means you have to immediately disappoint and piss off somebody because you just promised them your music. And if you say, well, I'm going to give it to company A and company B, I know you want it, but I know I just promised it, but sorry, I'm just not going to give it to you. I can work on something else. It's a big risky move. You might be making an enemy with somebody that could be a great partner for you on day one. I don't think it's professional. I don't endorse it. I think be patient. Go one company at a time after doing some research, making sure that you're pitching to the right companies, not just a company, just a production library, but making sure that your music is relevant for them, their clients. You can kind of get a sense for that, looking at their placements, looking at their catalog, all that kind of stuff. So my Sync Edge service is basically designed to help you find those companies and get the analysis like I've just been describing. Like right now, you can do that today. Just syncedge.me if you want to go get that. But you can do this 100% on your own if you want to. You could type in TV Film Production Music Library in a Google search. You could try to find these companies on your own, do your own analysis, look through all this stuff, maybe create your own Google spreadsheet, kind of keep notes on which ones you feel are the best. But we have some services, obviously, that can help you speed up that process entirely. So welcome. Glad to have you here. Please don't make the common mistakes of wanting results super quick overnight, and by doing that, making some kind of hasty choices that sometimes kind of burn bridges. So I would recommend you slow it down, definitely. Make sure you do your research first, make sure your music is ready to be pitched, and then go one at a time through the companies that you feel are the best fit. And by the way, if you're brand new, definitely stick around. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't. I'm going to be launching another online boot camp October 21st to the 25th. So not this coming Monday, but the Monday afterwards. And I'm going to give you four production music libraries, these boutique smaller ones, the ones that I recommend to my students, the paying customers. I recommend these companies to them. You'll get those. We're also going to have a guest speaker who does six figures producing sync music. The reason why he's definitely crossed the six-figure threshold is because he's done some theme songs for NBC, Disney, and Fox Sports. And then we're also going to be doing some track reviews. So if you want to know if your music is there, if you want to get access to these companies, if you want to pick the brain of somebody who's really doing well in this business, stay tuned. I'm going to release all the details. That'll be basically all I talk about. You guys are going to get very sick of it next week. I'm going to just promote the hell out of that thing next week. So, but stay tuned. Stick around. It's 100% free. Everybody can join and check it out, get access to that kind of stuff. So just mark your calendar, definitely October 21st. And as we're going to do 9 a.m. PST, 12 noon EST every single day. And it'll be about an hour each day. So, but feel free to join us for that one. Paradox, hello. Glad to have you here as well. And yeah, hopefully those were helpful thoughts for you guys. For everybody else, I know there's about 16 of you guys. If you guys have other challenges, pain points, struggles that you guys are going through, and or maybe you're just brand new to sync and you're just kind of overwhelmed. You're excited, but you're not really sure. Is it really for you? Go ahead and put it in the chat too. I'd love to help you guys out. I have been behind the scenes in the last week, sort of putting together, planning for this boot camp that I'm going to put together. And I realized, I remember I did this again. It was about a year ago. I think it was in the fall, or I think it was in the fall of last year. And the first thing I asked everybody that attended, we had like 200 people attending. It was great. It was a huge crowd. It was awesome. But the first thing I asked was, what are you struggling with? And the reason why I asked that to start the week off is because I want to make sure that I'm just not talking about things that are interesting or I think are, important to me, but I really want to make sure I'm focusing on you and what is, hurting you, what is overwhelming you, what is confusing you, or just where you're kind of not really sure how to make some moves, some beginner moves in this business. So starting off our week with that question sort of like informed me for where we were going to go with all the videos and track reviews and the library recommendations and all that good stuff. So I kind of keep it as my I don't know. It's like my guiding principle, my compass essentially here on the channel is to constantly ask you guys, where does it hurt? As a good doctor should do, is say, where are you hurting? What's the pain? What's happening? And so we can kind of focus on those things and not, I don't want to like lose touch with where you guys are at because, for those of you that are maybe new to the channel, I've been in sync for 16 years. So it's not like a new thing for me. It's something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, getting good at, making a ton of mistakes, of course, and learning from those mistakes and having great interviews with people like Yella and, library owners and all that kind of stuff. So I get a lot of just wisdom and insights and just, I just have a lot of this swimming around in my head. But often I can lose touch and forget about what it's like to be a newcomer to this business and forget about the overwhelming feeling that you can get getting into this. To me, it feels like such an easy industry to access and jump into. And like, not saying it's, maybe not easy is not the right word, but just accessible. It's sitting right here. And to me, it's like, yeah, like I'm in it. Everybody I know is in it. There's no reason why you can't also get into this if you want to. But I want to just always remind myself and get back in touch with that feeling of like, how did I feel back in 2008 when I first discovered it and when I was overwhelmed and I felt like, man, my music is really not as good as all this other stuff going on out there. Still feel that to this day, by the way. But just really struggling with that in the very, very beginning. So that's kind of why I always constantly go back to this question with a lot of you guys and ask you, what you're struggling with or what you're going through, because I need to know how I can be useful to you guys. So I try to practice what I preach. I tell you, with sync licensing, you're obviously making music to be useful and serviceable to the production music libraries that you partner with. Well, my whole channel here, I think, has done fairly well, successful. It's not the biggest channel on planet Earth, but in terms of sync, it's a pretty good, sizable, great, thriving channel. And I think that's because I try to consistently come back to this of like, I'm here to serve you. This isn't about me. This is about me just sharing, about all the cool things going on in my life. Occasionally I do, and I like to share those with you when I feel that they're going to be relevant, but also remembering that the entire point of this channel is to be a sort of bridge for all of you guys to come over to my side of things and try to figure out how you can find your place in this business as well. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. That's why I'm going to keep trying to do these live channels or these live streams from time to time. Hey, Diego, good to see you. What do you recommend to focus on more as far as opportunities? Hip hop or EDM or some kind of subgenre? Wrong question, Diego. Good question, but it is the wrong question. The better question is, what are you great at, Diego? Because you can do well in all of those, right? Hip hop, yes, it's saturated. Yes, there's a lot of hip hop producers out there. And yes, it's probably the most popular genre on planet Earth. So it'll be a little trickier to find your own niche. EDM, almost just as popular and, probably saturated in sync as well. Subgenres, there's all different types. So I would say when you say what should you be focusing on, the subtext of this question almost makes me think like you're saying, where am I going to get the most placements, right? Where am I going to get the most money, or where am I going to be the most relevant for this industry? You can be relevant in all those, hip hop, EDM, and all the subgenres to a certain extent. Really relaxed, slow EDM, probably not as much. Okay, chilled, almost drugged out sounding experimental hip hop music, probably not as much. Okay, there are exceptions to the rule, but as long as you're mid-tempo, up-tempo, kind of energetic music and subgenres and all those kind of things, you can do well in all of them. So the question shouldn't be where should I chase, where should I try to chase where the money is. It should be more about looking at yourself and going what am I great at? What's the thing when people listen to my music, they go, Diego, your hip hop beats are fire, man. Like your EDM track is unbelievable. Like where are you getting that positive informant, that information and that feedback, and where in yourself do you feel like this is really what's coming out of me? Like I tell you for myself, it's rock. Like I've done some pop, done some EDM, done some orchestral, done everything pretty much. But you put like a drum set and a distorted guitar in front of me in my DAW, and you won't be able to stand up to me. Sorry, it's a little braggadocious to say it, but I'm going to destroy you in the rock department. Why? I grew up on rock, right? I've been playing guitar and drums my entire life. I had bands, I wrote riffs, I recorded albums, I played live shows. Rock is in my blood, it's in my brain, it's in my soul, it's in my spirit, right? So rock is where I can just shine and I can just outpace and I can run and I can really just thrive with that genre. So that's my starting point. I know that I can do rock great. Then it would be, okay, what styles or points of view or genres or subgenres within rock are licensable, and I also feel that I can serve those as well and still, shine. So that's kind of that's the better conversation. That's the better question to be asking. So I would always go back to that. And what I hear more and more these days, and if you haven't heard some of the recent, I had the CEO of Extreme Music on my channel. I'm going to actually do an interview with the CEO, co-founder of Brand X. I think tomorrow. Fingers crossed that all goes well, but I'll be releasing that as well. And what I'm hearing from more and more of these library owners is they don't want just, hey, here's 50 tracks. They almost get turned off when you give them that much music. They almost think like, you're not probably doing something great if you're throwing me 50 songs. They really want you to come to the table with like, here are 3 undeniable sync tracks. They just want something that's like unbelievably good and unmistakably quality, and something that's just like, wow, that is, and they don't really even care if it's hip hop, like a saturated style, or it's rock, or it's orchestral, or something that they already have thousands of tracks. If it's great music is great music. So I would say don't worry so much about the genre, focus about where your greatness is and really put your best foot forward for these libraries these days. The days of sending mediocre or whatever, hey, it's just background music, you don't have to worry so much about it. I think those days are done. They've been done for a while. You've got to come to the table as if you're releasing your best material to production music libraries. That's the trend. That's where it's been my entire career. It's been going more and more in this like almost like artist level, pretty much artist level quality music, not just production music, stock music that's like whatever, who cares? These libraries, their standards are going higher and higher and higher. So you got to bring just the best that you can possibly bring to these libraries. So hopefully that's helpful. And I'm sure you've got something within that range that could really do well with sync. So that's the easy part. The harder part is making that decision of what you should really just focus on. And I do recommend you guys focus on one genre to get your foot in the door to really kind of carve out a great niche for yourself. Hey, Patrick. New to sync. I'm really trying to build my catalog up, but I'm having trouble crafting good and strong melodies. Interesting. So I guess you're talking about your lead melodies. And by the way, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Sync. Glad you're excited about it. I would say, Patrick, for sure, go listen to a lot of production music in production music catalogs. That would be my homework I would give you. In a lot of ways, we get inspired by the music that we listen to, right? And so if you're having trouble coming up with great, strong, catchy, melodic, beautiful melodies, spending more time listening to high quality melodies, especially in the production music world, you're going to want to follow in the footsteps if you're going to take this seriously. So you're going to go listen and check out a lot of those catalogs, tracks, and just spend a lot of time listening to it. So whatever you do listen to now, if you're listening to like rock or hip hop or whatever, when you're commuting or whatever you're listening to, replace all of that with production music and just go find high quality production music with a company you maybe want to partner with at some point. Type in exactly what type of music you compose. Not sure if it's orchestral or whatever it is. And then go find a couple of albums in their catalog and just sort of keep that link with you. Maybe text it yourself, email it to yourself, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to download this music. But you can, as long as you have an internet connection somewhere, just keep it up there, put on your earbuds and just listen over and over again and just notice the rhythm of melody. I know that with some of the tracks that I've reviewed in our pro feedback service, boring rhythms usually can kill great melody ideas. So if you're just using half notes or quarter notes or, worse, whole notes, and there isn't some like 16th notes, dropped in there, some dotted quarter notes, some kind of syncopated, kind of jazzy, fun rhythms where there's some pauses and some breaks, and, you're not kind of mixing it up a little bit rhythmically, chances are you're probably not going to make a very compelling melody. So I would say first look at your rhythms. If you have pretty boring, plain, very static, robotic rhythm kind of patterns you're using, that could be one of the biggest reasons where you feel like my melodies aren't really like capturing the imagination. So getting creative with your rhythms definitely would be something. So I listen to a lot of music, listen to a lot of production music, and kind of just start to take notes on like, why are these melodies really interesting to me, and where do they, like, listen to their contour. Are they growing and then coming back to the root? Do they come back to the root very quickly? Do they kind of depart for a while and then come back? Is there a sort of call and response pattern you're noticing where one instrument plays some melody, goes away, and then another element or a vocal comes in for a response, then the original one comes back in for another call, right? That's a very common thing in a lot of this music. So just try to pay attention essentially to what successful production music is doing, and then do your best to essentially emulate it. It is fake it till you make it, guys. There's no magical button you can press to be great at this stuff. Just pretend like you're going to craft a great high quality melody after listening to a whole bunch of it. Try not to rip it off. Obviously, be mindful of that. We don't want to steal anybody's melodies or chord progressions or anything like that. But you can learn a lot by emulating and just sort of inundating yourself, just saturating yourself and getting obsessed with this. That's, I think about all the time in my 20s, trying to learn how to write great music. I just spent a ton of time listening. I just would listen to all the radio, all the charts, all the top hits, and I would listen over and over and over. And I just remember just spending so much time just listening to music, because I'm like, how is it working? How long is this verse? Why is this verse different? How is this verse different than the first one? It's like, remember in those books when we were kids, like, how are these two pictures different? Like, find 5 differences between them. Do the same thing in music. Why is this verse a little different than the first one that we heard? What's going on with this chorus? What elements have been added? How is this track transitioning? Why is there so much energy in the track now and there wasn't any when we first started? What happened, right? Ask yourself these questions, start investigating, start to kind of pick apart this stuff for yourself. You'll do yourself a great service by spending time listening, for sure. Okay, Diego, it's hip hop. Best I can be and do some fun finding new trends. Awesome. You got your answer then, man. So hip hop, almost to anything other than the experimental, slow, relaxing, like whatever kind of drugged out styles. I wouldn't go in those directions. Mid-tempo, up-tempo, energetic. It can be dark. It can be, intense. It can be fun. It can be, party themed, whatever. It doesn't matter. Hip hop is so versatile. But now that you got that, now you got to just start doing some research and finding out what styles of hip hop, maybe in the particular types of production music libraries you want to partner with, that are they already carrying, and what do those types of music really all have in common? That's, by the way, why I'm releasing this new series, if you guys have been following, I'm breaking down successful sync tracks. I'm playing you the track, which, by the way, I got the feedback. You want me to play the entire track all the way through before I go back and stop it and chop it up. I understand that's very frustrating. I'm going to try to do that moving forward. But if you guys haven't checked those out, definitely start. I just did a trap orchestral track just the other day, Diego. So you should definitely go check out that one. If you got some orchestral chops as well and you want to put some hip hop beats underneath it, go check out that one. So I'm breaking down in these videos why these tracks, I believe, do well, why they've been accepted by libraries, why they're going to get placements. And I try to give you my sort of analysis of what you should be paying attention to as you listen to music. So these videos shouldn't be the end of your research, though. This is just meant to get you started. Then you go do additional research on the companies that you want to potentially partner with. Zentella, what's up? I started doing pop punk. That's great. That's actually become more and more in style these days. My tunes are solid. I'm very confident in them. The issue I'm having now is knowing which libraries to go with. Doesn't seem like people want what I'm offering. I normally do metal, but that doesn't seem to be syncable music. Metal, very complicated metal, no. Very intricate, 16th note, 32nd note, really intense double kick patterns. Sorry, it's just not it's not a style of music that is accessible to a wide ranging audience. So that's why the TV film industry doesn't usually ask for it too often. It can get placed, and I've gotten some, believe it or not, metal placements, but I would not focus on it for a career. It definitely is not going to have enough placements for you. Pop punk, definitely much more licensable, especially if you can kind of go a little bit more in the indie pop punk, a little bit more in that, especially with the vocals. So you're saying you don't know which libraries to go with. People don't want what you're offering. I'd have to listen to your music. I don't know exactly what you're pitching to these companies. I don't know which companies you are pitching to, but definitely Zentella, you need to come to my boot camp, okay? I'll announce it next week. I'll give you guys all the details. I'll give you the link. You guys can check it out. We're going to give you 4 high-quality production music library recommendations. I'll give you the analysis. I'll show you their music. I'll kind of play for you what it is that's working and why I think, some particular styles of music would really do well with them. And we'll be doing some track reviews for the people that show up for these Zoom calls. So Zantilla, you might be the perfect producer, musician for us to help out with this free boot camp coming up in 2 weeks. We're going to start on the 21st, but next week I'll be promoting it. You guys can sign up for it and get your spot on it. So, without knowing you, without knowing your music, and without knowing which libraries you're pitching to, I can't really give you an informed answer there. But I can tell you that if you're new to sync, chances are you have a little bit of work to do. Everybody does. I did, Yella did, everybody who's getting into sync for the first time has to go through a little bit of an educational process to make sure that you're pitching licensable music to these companies. You're going to learn all that in this boot camp coming up. So I expect, I hope you guys show up for that if you guys would like to. So let's see where we at. Trans Dog, are you better off sticking with the genre you're strongest at? Yes, that's definitely a yes. I was thinking about dabbling in less saturated genres within my wheelhouse. Trans Dog, are you already in a library? If you're already in a library and you're kind of creating some movement, you got some, you're building up your catalog already, maybe it's worth a conversation with your library partner to say, hey, I'd like to also work on a couple of these other genres. Do you find there would be a need for this? That would be the conversation I would have before you do that. If you're still trying to get your foot in the door and you haven't been accepted by a production library yet, don't do that. Do not go dabbling in some experimental idea because you think it might be less saturated, and so therefore you'll get all the placements. There are definitely a lot of holes in production catalogs. Like there are certain genres they just don't have. Polka for one, for most part. Not all of them, but you won't find a lot of polka in our industry. And that doesn't mean that you should go spend all your time making polka music, because then you're going to get all the placements for all the polka clients. There's probably just very little demand for polka music. It's not really worth your time to go into that genre. So there are certain genres, there are certain styles that are definitely more in demand than others. So I would recommend you do your research. You're going to learn more about that again, at the boot camp in a couple of weeks, and know exactly what is in demand. So I would definitely say stick with what you're strongest with now and figure it out within that genre, whatever the broad genre it is that you do great. How do you steer your creative efforts into a direction, maybe a subgenre that is highly licensable, but also know how to make a track that is production, that is licensable, marketable, and competitive for the marketplace today. And we're going to talk about that. That's most of what you're learning on this YouTube channel, but you're going to go much more in depth in this upcoming bootcamp, okay? Diego saying he loves what Trevor and Mike have done in Sync Academy for hip hop. Yep, and we've done some great tutorials in Sync Academy, so for sure, glad you've been taking advantage of that. That's great, man. So, hey, is that Benyo or is that Bio? Ben, is that you? The Ben that I've been trying to get some trailer music with, or is this a different person? Sorry, I don't know if I recognize the Beyo, but anyways, you said you had some tracks in the slow range, 76. Should I just multiply by 2? The track doesn't sound slow at all. Lots of energy. Okay, it is you. What's up, Ben? I mean, I know, Ben, you do a lot of trailer music and you do this big, impactful, energetic, epic stuff. So I don't think you have an issue with that. I mean, you've sent me some of your tracks, man. I don't think you have an issue with them being too slow. The tempo, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Speeding it up by 2, I don't think you have this issue. When I say slow, mellow music, like it's kind of like when it's more, as you're listening to it, you're kind of almost like induced into a little bit of a mellow, relaxed mood. Your music is not doing that, Ben. You definitely have the more energetic, intense energy, even if it's in the slower BPM, because you have the faster, 16th notes and that kind of thing going on in your track. So you're not somebody I would be worried about that. I'm just talking about somebody who has, chill step, right? Or lo-fi hip hop, or ethereal meditation music, that kind of stuff, right? Where it's a little bit on the kind of like, let's light some incense, let's light some candles and just chill and vibe. Great music, cool, could be a fan of it, and definitely there's gonna be certain times in my life where I play that music and it's really useful for me. Go watch TV, you're not gonna hear that stuff really at all, very, very rarely. So you wouldn't be somebody I'd worry about that. I would just say, like, stick with what you're doing, because you've got that energetic, intense, epic music, man, and your quality is just top notch. It's just your issue at this point, Ben, is just will you stick with this enough to see your results? And that's always a challenge for all of us, because you've got it, Ben. You've got great, high quality talent. It's just a matter of, and all of us deal with that, is am I willing to put up with this for a couple of years before I start to see, some results and start to break into some bigger opportunities, bigger sync fees, bigger royalties, all that kind of stuff. That's what all of us struggle with, have insecurities about. Even Yella, who joined me, and we're going to release that interview next week. He's, 5 years into it now, winning Mark Awards, getting into all the biggest publishers, still having that struggle, still having that conversation of like, I need to see more. I don't know if how much more am I going to give to this? It's just everybody goes through that. So you're not alone if you're worried about that, but that's definitely where you're at, Ben, because I think you got the talent. I think you got the skills, you got the professional skills, all that good stuff to do it. Now it's a matter of the mindset of like, will you continue on, long enough to start to see those results come in? And, everybody's got to make that decision for themselves. It's kind of like I was telling Yella, it's like we all have our own internal spiritual journey within sync. We have to decide, is this something we're willing to give up, 2 to 5, maybe plus years of our life to start to see some meaningful results to continue on with it or not? And I can't tell you whether you should, whether you shouldn't. I don't think anybody on YouTube, I don't think anybody online, I don't think anybody else at all can tell you whether or not you should do that. That's a decision between you and your creator, you and your faith, you and yourself, you and your soul. It's just one of these things we all got to look in the mirror and decide how much of this are we really going to put up with. It's a tough decision, but it's a very important decision for sure. Chrissy, hey, wait, actually I got Paradox event. How do you know where's the line between a hybrid track and a track that's a mix of incompatible genres? Are there like good and bad combos? I guess I'm more interested in tension, but in general too. I mean, bad combos, I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard a bad combo. I've just heard of bad attempts at hybrid, right? Like where somebody tries to do a hip hop rock track and it's like, this doesn't feel like an authentic hip hop song, and it definitely doesn't feel like it has authentic rock elements. It feels like it's a bad version of both. So I don't know. I think you can kind of get creative these days and sort of merge things that maybe aren't. One of the more creative ones I've heard recently is hip hop and country, which growing up that was impossible. There's no way you're throwing country guitars on top of a hip hop beat, but that's pretty common now. It's becoming more and more regular. So I think it's more about just creating something that just feels right and authentic and captures the essence of what the two genres really bring to the table. If you can do that in a way and it still feels like it's a cohesive piece of music, I wouldn't worry about a good or a bad combo. It's more about good or bad production, just getting it right in whatever combo you want to put together. So I think that's a really great question though. Now we go to Chrissy. What do you think about that pitch? If you know that one. Yes, I have heard of that. On online reviews are only a few, but quite bad. I'm just in general not a fan of any pitching service at all, whether it's Taxi, that pitch. I know there's new ones that are kind of popping up all over the place. I see them on LinkedIn. The main reason is because it's just not what a professional sync license producer would do, right? Like I always we got to get out of our sync licensing world, music world. Imagine you guys were going to become real estate investors, right? Let's just imagine, right? It's fun. You all got $1 billion in your bank account all of a sudden. It's like, hey, I'm going to become a real estate investor. Well, you got a couple of approaches to do that. Like, how do you become a professional real estate investor and actually do well and, actually take it seriously? Well, let's say you're just on YouTube or social media or LinkedIn and somebody's like, hey, you want to sign up for our mailing list? There's hundreds of other real estate investors probably on it, maybe thousands. But you just pay us a monthly fee and we'll send you the best deals we come across. That's one approach for sure. You can do that. Or the other is like you just get your butt off the couch, you pick up your phone and you start calling. You call real estate brokers, you call agents, you start just calling listings directly. You look at who's selling their homes. I mean, you make direct offers to, private offers to the seller, to the owners of the homes, whatever, right? Those are the two approaches you could take. Which one do you think is going to get better deals? Which one do you think is going to have a better career? The one that's just taking matters into their own hands and directly approaching the people they want to do business with, or the one that's taking the listings, that also hundreds of others are getting and sort of stacking up the odds against themselves by pitching to these very crowded opportunities. And not on top of that, the one thing that bothers me the most about those kind of services is the lack of transparency, right? They'll say things like, I don't know, X client, retail client needs hip hop music for a national campaign. I don't know the brand. I don't know the company, and the cynical part of me goes, is there even an opportunity there? Is there even a company there? Is there even something happening there? Or is that just somebody using a keyboard to type in details and making up a budget and saying, yeah, we've got opportunities. Here they all are. And it's like, I don't know. The cynical part of me says be skeptical of that. I hope none of that's happening, of course. I hope that they're all just offering legitimate opportunities, but I really dislike and don't trust uh, non-transparent opportunities like that. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it just opens up the door for a lot of potential problems. And of course, even if they're all legit 100%, giving them that, you're still at a disadvantage because you don't get to directly connect with those people and decide whether or not, and get some feedback from them. Was your music right? Was it not right? There's none of that going on. You're just sort of throwing your music out there, hoping that of the other hundreds of people that are also throwing your music on the pile, maybe yours gets, passed on to them. And I don't know. It's not what a serious sync licensing producer would be doing. I'd say that if you want to dabble, like if you just want to, I don't want to learn that much about it. I don't want to commit that much to it. I just want, once in a while there's an opportunity in my inbox and I'll throw a track at it or two. Cool. That's what it's for. So if that's where your commitment level is, I would say go for it. And I wish you all the best and hopefully you get some placements, right? Because if you don't want to spend significant time and commitment and really, risk getting rejected by directly making those calls, making those emails, I would say, yeah, go for those kind of things. That's what they're kind of meant for. That's my point of view in it. But if you want to do it in a more professional, serious way to actually turn this into I think reliable, consistent income. By the way, I'm going to be releasing a video, I think tomorrow, showing you guys that within the last year, I have gotten 1,000 new TV placements, and I haven't been very active with my sync licensing career. So I'm going to show you why my approach, working directly with production music libraries, consistently cranks out and delivers results for me year after year, 16 years into the business, coming on 17 now. So stay tuned for that one tomorrow. So yeah, I think for dabblers, for people that aren't that serious about it, that's kind of what that's for. If you want to be a little more serious, I think you got to make that direct connection. You got to make those calls, and you got to make people know your name and know you directly. I just think that's the only way to go. All right, let's go down here. So, hey, Michael, good to see you, man. Glad you were able to catch us too. It's been harder since you retired to the Philippines due to time differences. Wow. I don't know if I knew that you were in the Philippines. Maybe I did know that, but wow, man, how's the life down there? I've always wanted to go to the Philippines. I will. One day I will. Art Caffeine, great YouTube name, by the way. Do we register all cues with PROs before uploading to the libraries? No, definitely don't do that. Great question. I'm glad you asked that. When you get accepted by a production music library, they're generally going to be registering your tracks on your behalf because they associate their publisher company with your music. So if you register your own tracks, sometimes you can be creating issues for them to make those registrations happen. Not all the time, but I would just say you don't have to worry about registering with your PRO. Your job, though, is once you get accepted by a library and they say, all right, cool, we'll take your 10 tracks or whatever, they're going to be responsible for generally registering your tracks with BMI, ASCAP, whatever. Your job is maybe after a month or so, log in, go look through BMI or ASCAP, and make sure that those registrations did show up and that they are showing you as the writer. Because I've had it happen. I've seen it happen where wrong writer gets credited. Very rarely, extremely rarely. I've only heard it happen one time. A library owner included themselves as the writer when they weren't the writer and didn't tell the writer that was happening. You don't want that to be happening. If you see that happening, that's an immediate phone call. What the hell is going on? Why are you either showing up as partial writer or all writer on my music? So those are the kind of things you just got to double check. You got to do your due diligence, make sure that things did get properly registered to you. So your job is just to double check their work, if that makes sense. All right, cool. Glad to help, Chrissy. Glad that was helpful. Hey, Steven, what's up? Steven was on my channel a couple months back. Actually, I have something to email you about, Steven. I might reach out to you this week. I'm glad you showed up, man. You kind of rose to the top of my to-do list by doing that. Thank you, man. Good to see you. Steven has done really well on sync. He's one of these, one of the few producers that took it very seriously, got directly in touch. Actually, I think you had a library owner reach out to you, and he has just been super, super busy, consistently cranking out, being of use, being serviceable, being useful for the people that are asking for music from him. And he's seen some great results as a result of that. And again, going directly, not relying on any middleman, nothing like that. He's just directly talking, emailing, Zooming with the people that are directly asking for music from him. So these are the kinds of success stories that I want to feature on this channel to let you guys know it's possible, not easy for sure. So yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you, man. But definitely something that can be possible if you want to take this seriously. So yeah, I'm glad you showed up, man. Good to see you. Hopefully all is well. And we got to get you back on the channel too. At some point, we'll get a little update from you, see how things are going. Transdog, rock music has a ton of subgenres. For someone who can play any kind of rock, is it smarter to find a niche or to create a broad range of rock tracks? I'd say to get started, you want to just really focus on one subgenre of rock. So if there's one type that you feel like you really excel at, maybe put it in the chat right now. I'll let you know if I feel it's really high quality for sync, if I think it's a high in demand genre that you could really do well in. But no, definitely don't dabble with a whole bunch of different ones. I do think you got to get your foot in the door with like the best, the shining star style of music that is really just you, and it really just conveys your personality and your strengths. Once you get in with that, you can start to branch out a bit. But what I have never really seen work for any producer is they go, well, I'll approach with my rock music. I've got EDM. I've also got some orchestral. I do some minimal. I do all these things. And when I come to a library, I want all the placements. So I'm going to give them all this different music, and they're going to be so impressed that I can give them so much. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you're not amazing at all of them. You're just not. I've never heard and never seen people be amazing at 4 or 5 different genres. There's one probably that you're great at, and you're probably okay, decent, good at other ones. But these days you got to come with your great. So that's how you break through. So, and Carlos is here. What's up, Carlos? Good to see you, man. Glad you joined us, buddy. Cool. Art, you're going to sign up with the Academy today. Glad to hear that. Very cool. Feel free to do that, but also I would recommend you also join our boot camp coming up on October 21st. In fact, you might want to wait. I would almost tell you, like, don't sign up today. If you want to, go for it. You're going to get a lot of value, and I'm actually going to have a kind of a secret offer that only people that join that are going to get, and you're going to get probably a better rate on Academy, so probably shouldn't say that, but I'm saying that. I would honestly, if you want to sign up, that's fine, and I can still hook you up with that rate after you go through that boot camp. But either way, you sign up today or don't sign up today, just come to the boot camp, because you're going to get a lot of value from that, a lot of insights, and I definitely have a really cool offer for all of you guys that want to join us in Sync Academy as a result of sticking with us for that boot camp. So please do join us for that one. I'll give you more, again, details about that next week. So Paradox, recently subscribed to Pro Feedback. Right on, man. So in a couple of days, Hans will tell me if my rock tension hybrid is all over the place or not. Yes, and Hans will do a great job. He's a very positive, very awesome educator, professional on our platform. He'll definitely help you out. It's awesome to have such a service. Definitely makes me worry less about going in the right direction with my sync stuff. Bingo. That's the exact reason why I put together Pro Feedback. You know, when I got started in 2008, I was kind of under the... I guess you call the mentorship of a production music library owner, which did a lot of great things for me. I'll always be grateful for that. But there was all this other uncertainty I had about knowing, I don't think my music is as good as all the other stuff out there. And I didn't necessarily feel like I had somebody that could give me that direct, personalized feedback on my music to say, you're right, you've got some work to do, and here's what you can be doing better. And here's where I see that you've got a little gap in your skills, and let's get you moving home, get you moving forward to a more licensable place. Had I had a service like that, I think it would have shaved off years for me and gotten me much closer to many more placements sooner than later. I was a little bit stubborn and dragged my feet and didn't really take the time to improve anything. So that's exactly what we want to give you guys. So I'm so glad, Paradox, Dimitri, I'm not sure how to pronounce your first name, but I'm so glad that you're with us and getting that sort of confidence of like knowing you're going in the right direction, or at least now having some guidance about like not just spinning around in circles and hoping something works out, but like feeling like you're actually making progress, moving closer towards some licensable music. That's really, really amazing. So Ethan, this will be the last one that I'll take today, and then I'll hop off today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I find that instrumental trap hip hop is very saturated. Is still a demand for beats. Yes, but beats, if you're making beats, to me it sounds like maybe you're copying and pasting a lot of your track, and that's not going to fly with sync licensing. That's going to be, again, something we're going to talk about in this boot camp coming up October 21st. Just subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned. Next week I'll let you guys know all about it. We don't just make beats. We have to create audio films. We have to create music that really captures the attention of the listener, delivers emotional journeys, has dynamics, it has rises, it falls, and we do not copy and paste our way through the music in this business. There's going to be some copying and pasting, of course, but this is definitely something you're going to learn a lot from this upcoming sync boot camp, because we're going to review some of your guys' tracks. I'm going to play tracks in the catalogs that we review, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of cool stuff you guys are going to get out of it. So cool. No copy and pasting. Good. That's awesome. So you're going to learn that, yes, hip hop, obviously very saturated. But if you have great hip hop, great trap music, still a place for you. But it better be great. Can't be average, can't be whatever. you got to bring something, and usually that means you got to bring a little bit of your own unique voice to it. You know, it doesn't have to be your verbal voice, you know, but it has to be something, you know, musically that's really just yours. That's where we want to go. So I'm going to hop off, guys, and thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your struggles with me, and hopefully this was useful, beneficial, and I guarantee you guys, if you guys come back for this boot camp on the 21st, you're going to get even way more value over the course of that week. That's going to be a really, really fun one for me to do. So you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and come back tomorrow. Got a really, hopefully encouraging video for you guys tomorrow to check out my updates in my personal sync